Chinese health authorities are still working to identify the virus.
A mysterious virus has gripped the world.
Singapore has confirmed its first case of the Wuhan
Taiwan
virus.
has already restricted vast majority of Chinese nationals.
Hong Kong has since scaled back transport services in both directions.
Thousands are infected and hundreds dead.
And the number of deaths in China has jumped by a new single-day record, up by 64 to 425.
In 2003, when SARS hit the nation, I was avidly following the news. And I remember the scenes of how Tan Tock Seng was the designated SARS hospital. Since then, I haven't seen an infection of this scale. Singaporeans are naturally concerned.
I think people are still scared because there's so much unknown, like how infectious it is and how it spreads. The numbers are rising in China especially.
So what are you doing to protect yourself?
Hygienic.
Yeah.
Don't go to crowded area.
Yeah.
When I go back, I wash my face, clean my hand, everything lah. Change my clothes.
What's your understanding of the virus and how it works?
We don't know how long is the exact incubation period.
Okay.
What are the transmission means? There are a lot of rumors talking about it can transmit through your eyes, but it's not confirmed.
In this episode of Talking Point, I'll tell you everything you need to know about the novel coronavirus and how you can protect yourself against it.
The world was first alerted to the existence of a new virus in Wuhan, the capital city of Hubei province in central China, on New Year's Eve. 2 weeks later, on 13th January, the disease had spread beyond China to Thailand, then to Japan, and to Singapore. By end January, the coronavirus had spread to at least 23 countries across the globe. As of 5th February, the number of infected cases spiked to over 28,000, and the death toll in China surpassed 500. In an unprecedented move, Chinese authorities, hoping to control the spread of the virus, placed the entire city of Wuhan under lockdown, about 3 weeks after the virus was first reported. Since then, 19 cities have been locked down, affecting some 81 million people. It's been 14 days since the Wuhan lockdown. I want to get a situation update from someone within the city.
So my contact in China has finally managed to get someone who is willing to speak to us. I've been told that he's been there for several weeks. He went there to spend the Lunar New Year with his relatives and now he's stuck. So let's see if we can get him online for a chat. Hello, 你听到我吗？你现在在武汉，自己一个人还是你全家人？
全家5口人。一般老百姓这边情况其实越来越安静下来了，出门是可以的，但是似乎也没法上班，因为现在公共交通取消了，到外地的航班、火车全部停运了，出不去。而且到武汉外面，你这个武汉牌照的车或者湖北出来的车，其实别的地方的人也很警惕的，不是很受欢迎。
住在那边的人会不会觉得很担心？
到公共场所，大家还是会有一些担心被传染的，因为现在不知道这个传染是怎么方式嘛。有一种方式说是通过空气会传染，公共场所人不是特别多。
那你现在最担心什么？
一个是担心孩子们，就是他们会不会被传染，这回去上学肯定是要耽误了。第二个是什么时候封城结束，现在还不清楚，没有日期。我们从上海过来穿青的，然后被困在这里了。
So far, this is what I know about the coronavirus. It's actually a part of a large family of viruses found in both animals and people. The ones that infect us can cause illness ranging from the common cold to more severe respiratory illnesses. The novel coronavirus is a new strain of virus. Like SARS, it is a respiratory illness. It causes coughing and pneumonia. It can transmit from one person to another, meaning I might fall sick if someone around me is sick, and I know that it can be lethal. I want to know who is most at risk of dying from this disease. To answer this, I need to know more about the virus.
So I've arranged to meet Professor Liu Yisin. She's one of Singapore's leading infectious disease experts who played a key role in helping battle the SARS outbreak some 17 years ago. So do we know the origin of the virus?
I think this is still an area where many of the scientists are still trying to crack and get the answer. But effectively, if you look at the genomes, then it is very closely related to the bats virus. Bats, they are well, but they're just carrying the virus and potentially can cause cross-species jump. So in other words, can jump to the human or can jump to the other animal.
And how does this virus cause death?
That tends to also cause a significant fair bit of pneumonia. Pneumonia is a damage to the lung because of infections. This can be caused by virus, bacteria, or other microorganisms. So when this virus invades into the lung, basically it kills off the lung cells, and some of the patients may suffer severe pneumonia. In other words, very bad damage to the lung, where they cannot continue to provide good oxygen level to the rest of the body. When the lung is affected and cannot deliver adequate oxygen, the other organs will be affected as well. Now, usually for older individuals and individuals with already pre-existing chronic conditions like cardiac disease, lung disease, or other forms of organ that are not functioning well, so they tend to have higher mortality among this group of individuals. So we know that this virus can kill.
Compared to MERS, to SARS, I mean, how deadly is this virus?
So SARS fatality rate is ranging from about 10 to 14% or so. Now for this new virus, because the whole situation is still evolving, so we don't really have the clarity in terms of the actual case fatality rate, but just looking at the current data is suggestive that the case fatality rate is ranging somewhere around 2 to 3.
So preliminary findings show that unlike SARS, which had a fatality rate of about 10 to 14%, the novel coronavirus is only lethal in around 2 to 3% of its cases. But while it took SARS 8 months to infect 8,000 people, the novel coronavirus has already surpassed that within just 1 month. So it is spreading at a breathtaking speed. At this rate, how can we avoid being infected? This queue seems to be never-ending. On 4th February, the first 4 cases of local person-to-person transmission was reported.
They occurred in 4 patients who had not recently travelled overseas.
A day later, by 5th February, the total number of confirmed cases stands at 28. At that point, it's still classified as a limited community spread. Still, we need to know how the virus spreads, because that's one way we can protect ourselves. Professor Paul Tambaya has been on television sharing his knowledge on the new coronavirus.
It's actually practically impossible to contain a virus if it is infectious during the incubation period.
So how does this virus spread?
So this virus is believed to spread by droplets. It spreads about 3 feet. Every time we talk, or we cough, or we sneeze, thousands of little particles come out from our mouth. That can actually carry infectious virus in it. You're within 3 feet of me, so you're going to get infected.
So someone sneezes, it's on the handrails, I touch the handrail.
We use our hands, we touch our mouth and our nose several times every hour. So if you've just touched something where somebody has sneezed and then you rub your nose, you've essentially escorted the virus into your nose.
Apart from proximity, prolonged exposure also plays a part. This means the more you spend time with an infected person, the higher the chance of catching the virus.
How long will it stay alive on that handrail?
Again, we don't know for sure with this Wuhan coronavirus, but we do know from other coronaviruses. If you are in a cold and dry environment, say with the relative humidity of about 30% and the temperature somewhere around 15 degrees centigrade or lower, it can stay for like a couple of 100 hours. But on the other hand, if we're talking about 25 degrees and a humidity of about 80%, it's less than 2 hours. So when it's warm and humid, basically the virus dies.
Like here we are in the university campus, it's actually generally safer outside than inside an air-conditioned room.
It's definitely safer. I still remember during SARS, it was my wife's birthday.
Yeah.
So we went to Sentosa and we had open-air alfresco dining, and it was nice. And you know, I was pretty sure that with the humidity and the cross ventilation, there was no risk of me even incubating the virus and bringing it home.
How do I know whether I have the regular flu or I have the coronavirus?
Most of us, once we get the flu, after a couple of days, we start feeling better. But with the coronavirus, for the first 4 or 5 days, you start getting worse. And you're probably worse around day 4 or day 5. In fact, this is the data that we've seen from China. People go to the hospital on day 4 or day 5 because they're not getting better.
Right.
So it becomes apparent to them that they're not dealing with a regular flu.
What should I do if I suspect that I have the virus?
The first thing you need to do is you need to evaluate your risk. So ask yourself, were you in contact with someone who had the viral infection? Did you recently return from China? And if you do meet those criteria, you should go straight to the National Center for Infectious Disease. If you don't meet those criteria and it's a little bit grey, not so sure, then I suggest you go and see your general practitioner. But I would suggest that you call the GP ahead of time. And you warn him so that he doesn't put you in a room with 50 other people.
In the days following the news of the outbreak, at pharmacies, scenes like this became commonplace.
There's been a queue here. We've been here for over an hour now, and this queue seems to be never-ending. A lot of people here want to buy the masks, saying for their families, for their children. Just how long have you been in line?
I think 1 hour plus.
Over 1 hour?
Because they take a break also just now.
Oh, wow.
30 minutes.
I think about 45 minutes.
45 minutes. So are you here also to buy some masks?
No, I was trying to see what is the price it is. If I had heard that it was already coming to almost $12 one box. It's normally around $4 to $5 one box.
Okay. You're here to buy the mask also?
Yeah, sure.
Is the mask going to keep you safe?
I don't think so.
Oh, then why are you getting the mask?
Because my family members asked me to buy something. Buy some.
A day after the virus was detected in Singapore, the government released 5 million surgical masks from the nation's stockpile to retailers, and they were snapped up within hours.
The current rate of consumption of masks is not sustainable.
On 30th January, it was announced that all local households will be given 4 masks each.
We will do a one-time exercise. We will prepare packets of 4 masks to be distributed to every local household. We are doing this to assure Singaporeans that every family will have access to masks if someone in your family really needs it.
People were also reminded, wear a mask only if you are ill.
So now that I've got my 4 masks, I need to make sure we know how to use them correctly when the need arises.
We have to wear masks only on few conditions.
Eric Velasco is an independent consultant on air quality and airborne contaminants. I'm hoping he can give me some answers.
So, what's the difference between the masks? How do I know which mask I should be using?
In this case, to prevent the spread of the virus, a surgical mask like this is good enough.
How should we be wearing them, using them?
It's very important to wear properly the mask. When you wear the mask, please be sure of not touching the front of the mask with your hand. Use the stripes, not by the mask itself. The mask has to cover your nose and your mouth completely. Which is the front size and the back size. Some masks have different color. The darker color, the gray one, usually corresponds to the back side. The front tends to be white. And to know which is the top and the bottom part, many masks have a metal strip. You will feel it.
Okay, yes, I can feel the metal strip here.
Other masks even have a marker telling you which is the front and which is the back and which is the top and which is the bottom size.
So if I were to try it out, don't touch the front.
Right.
And I should squeeze down where the nose is. Is this correct?
Perfect. It's covering your nose and it's covering your mouth. That's good.
Yeah, okay.
Don't worry if the mask doesn't seal perfectly to your face. In this case, we wear the mask to prevent the spread of the virus. Water droplets that we release when we sneeze, when we cough, will be trapped by the mask.
So when I'm done with the mask, I should also take it off, hold it by the side?
Yes,
and
yes. Don't touch it by the front, just remove it by the sides. And don't reuse the mask. Once you remove it, please put it in the trash bin. If you are a healthcare worker, if you are in a hospital working with sick people, people presenting respiratory symptoms, you should wear an N95 mask.
Okay.
The famous N95 mask. This mask has proved quite effective in hospitals. Some studies have demonstrated that they protect up to 95–97% people in hospitals of getting the virus.
But otherwise, there is no need for the rest of us to wear an
all.
N95.
Forget about wearing an N95 and even a surgical mask if you are not sick.
Okay.
This is not like the haze. We have to wear N95 masks to protect us from the air pollution, to remove the particles from our breathing. In this case, it's the opposite. We are wearing the mask to retain the particles when we cough, when we sneeze, when we talk, or when we breathe.
What about these other types of masks? I've seen some people wearing it.
Forget about these cloth masks. They are the worst. They have the opposite impact. Usually people reuse this mask. After a day of use, they wash it and they dry it. But at the end of the day, the virus may stay there. And these masks are very good concentrating humidity.
Right.
And they create the perfect medium to reproduce bacteria, and you will get sick for other reasons.
So if masks are needed if we are not sick, perhaps I can protect myself with these?
There are many different brands, different types out there. What's the difference?
The novel coronavirus is spreading, and Singapore authorities have responded swiftly. Temperature screenings are in place at all land checkpoints and for all flights coming into the country.
This will help to reduce the risk.
A dedicated ministerial task force was set up to provide almost daily updates. With effect from 31st January, all Singaporean residents returning from China have to take a 2-week leave of absence. This means affected persons can return to school or work only 15 days after they arrive in Singapore, provided they are well. The country also closed its doors to all foreign travellers from China to stem the spread of the virus. Strict protocols in place at the national level are all good, but I want to know what else I can do to protect myself.
So we've been told to wash our hands frequently with soap and water, but what if we don't have access to that? Could these be the next best thing?
I'm going to general practitioner Jean Chen for some answers.
So these are the different wet wipes and sanitizers that we have.
Okay, so let's start from here. So this is a hand sanitizer.
Yes.
There are many different brands, different types out there. What's the difference?
There is no difference as long as it's alcoholic content. It would give the hand a good clean. They generally recommend that any hand sanitizers with alcohol content of more than 60% would be more effective in killing germs. So the most important thing is to let the hand sanitizer dry out when you're applying it on your hand, because killing of bacteria or viruses actually works by drying out of the hand sanitizer itself. Let me show you how to do it. So generally you put a good amount over your palm, okay? You do a palm rubbing side to side, and then after that you rub the dorsum of your hands, and then after that you rub palm to palm, finger interlaced as well. You rub the back of your fingers, give it a good rub, and you don't forget your thumbs as well. And then after that the fingertips and the fingernails, both sides. And you do this repeatedly until your hands dry up.
Oh, so you keep on doing it until your hands dry?
Yeah.
Okay. Then when it comes to wet wipes?
Well, wet wipes, generally we reserve it for environmental surfaces. Wet wipes may not give the hand crevices a good clean. You may actually spread more virus from wiping from one surface to another. If you look at this, it's actually alcohol-free, so you can use it for your usual hawker centre tables, give it a good wipe. But in terms of virus spread, I would recommend something that it's alcohol content.
When it comes to soap, again, there are so many kinds of packaging. Some of them say they have disinfectant, they're antibacterial. I mean, does that mean anything?
All soap have actually germ-killing properties, so any soap will do as long as you give it a thorough wash.
It's been just over a month since novel coronavirus first appeared in the city of Wuhan in China. Since then, Chinese authorities have publicly released genetic data on the virus. This will greatly help efforts to identify, detect, and protect ourselves against disease. Researchers over the world have been racing against time to find that holy grail of concoction that will act as a vaccine to the novel coronavirus. I managed to get hold of one expert. Benjamin Newman has dedicated his research to understanding and finding treatments for coronaviruses such as SARS and MERS. I want to know how close we are at developing a successful vaccine.
Hello, hi there. Hi, Ben. How realistic is it to have a vaccine come out within the next, few months?
Well, if everything goes really well, comparing this current outbreak to like the past MERS outbreak, we would expect to see the last cases working their way through the system in about 3 months. That's the best case scenario. The quickest of the vaccines, the one coming out of Australia, has a chance to be out, they say, in a month and a half maybe, but it may be more like 3 months. So it might be there right for the end.
Give us a timeline. How do you see this virus playing out?
China have quarantined effectively entire cities with millions of people in them. They've built brand new hospitals, and they are absolutely hitting this as hard as we ever have. It's nice to see, and I hope at some point that we'll actually see some results from this. Thankfully, quarantine works really well, and not just against coronavirus, against anything. And so, that's the tool. Calling people, finding out their contacts, this sort of basic level stuff that doesn't take a virology degree is probably what's going to stop this outbreak.
I'm in Sentosa. Now, some Singaporeans may be worried about coming here because of the confirmed cases recorded at 2 hotels on the island. But here's what I learned. We don't have to be afraid to go to places where victims were once at, because the risk of infection from transient contact is low.
But we all need to continue to practice good personal hygiene. And we want to stay vigilant too. Plus, get a whole bunch of fresh air. Because I now know that the heat, the humidity, and a well-ventilated space result in a much lower chance of the coronavirus spreading.